As we start,
Go ahead.
for those of you online, please submit your questions via the chat format on the Zoom platform. For those of you here, very nice turnout. There is a sign-in sheet that allows you to put your name down, email address, any questions. And if we are not able to answer them tonight, we'll be able to follow up with you and make sure that we try to answer what we can. As you see, to get the formality out of the way, I'm wearing this really fashionable scarf. I recently had some surgery and I'm recovering, but this is going to be with me for another 3 to 4 weeks. So hopefully I'll get back to normal. But what's kind of interesting is going through this process, you know, life experiences always shape what you think about and how you perceive things. And this has certainly made me more sensitive to people with mobility challenges. And I'm sure as I work on projects in the future as an architect, this will shape some of my thought processes. Having said that, one of the things I take pride in is being very sensitive to designing either a building or a house or a small community like this that is sensitive to the environment that is being placed, understanding the context in which it's being developed and designing to fit into the neighborhood. Real quickly, a little bit about us as a firm. We are located in San Francisco, but we've been working in Santa Cruz County for many, many years. One of my first projects down here was off of Belton Avenue, across from Lighthouse Park, where we did an infill development of about 12 houses. That's led to 3 to 4 projects in Scotts Valley. We did an affordable project with Mid-Penn Housing in Aptos, where we also were very proud of renovating a historic farmhouse that served as a community building for that project. We've worked on a mixed-use, high-density project on Pacific Avenue. And then more recently, we were involved in what we refer to as a Jose Rodriguez project, not too far from here. And then unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on how you look at it, we have some clients that we're helping to rebuild in the fire area. So we're very proud to be working down here. We enjoy the people, we enjoy the environment. We think we understand the environment down here, and I'm pleased to be here in front of you. I'd also like to acknowledge everything that, especially this area, Santa Cruz, has gone through in the last 3 to 4 weeks. Thank you for taking time out of your, I'm sure, hectic schedule to come out and learn a little bit more about a project. So with that, I'd like to kind of give you an overview of our site, our design, a little bit about the architecture. And I really want this to be a night to hear what you have to say. So I'll try to keep my presentation fairly short, but descriptive and thorough, and bring it back to you. So the Maciel site is about 2 acres. And one of the first things that we will be doing as part of this development, let me get rid of one piece of paper here, is improving Maciel Avenue. So we'll be widening the street in front of our project to include parallel street parking, curb and gutter, and sidewalk. So that's a public benefit providing as part of this development. The site itself, north, south, east, and west, some people get confused. The way this is oriented, north is to the left, south is to the right, east is up, and west is down. The site actually has quite a bit of slope. We call it slope topography. It drops about 15 feet from the high point on the lower left to the upper right. There's a slope of about 15 feet. And that really led to the site design and the home design. We spent a lot of time looking at what would be appropriate for this particular site. And we ended up with a loop road. So we have 2 accesses off of Maciel. The loop road allows us to go down and work with the site so that each lot steps with the topography and minimizes grading. The orientation of the lots go with the direction of the grades. We call that parallel grading with the lots. So we're working very hard to work with the existing topography. We are saving 2 big oak trees in the rear of the property on the eastern edge. We are also providing an pedestrian and EVA access to the project that's being proposed to the east. This supports, I think, the county's desire for pedestrian connectivity through different portions of the city. And so pedestrians can come and go through both parcels. What we have in front of you are 21 single-family homes. We are allowed up to 24 homes for the maximum density, but we explored many different solutions, and we felt this was the most appropriate to balance providing individual homes and not creating too much density on the site. Homes themselves range from about 1,700 to 2,300 square feet. They're primarily 3 bedrooms. And a couple of, I think, important aspects to the home designs. Everyone has a 2-car garage. Everyone has a full driveway apron, which means you can park your car in front of your garage. Everyone has a private backyard. So it really lives as a traditional single-family house. Included in the 21 homes will be 3 BMR units. So that is part of the 21 units that we provide. Parking is always a sensitive issue. We understand that. The codes require us to park 63 cars on site. We are parking 83 cars on site. And with the addition of the expansion of Maciel, there's an opportunity for about 10 additional public parking spaces along Maciel. We don't count that in the 83 parking spaces that we're providing. It's an additional 10. So we're actually very well parked for this particular project. Another aspect of the home design is that they are going to be all electric, and solar electric panels will be installed on the homes during construction. So they're going to be very aggressive in their approach to being green, providing green opportunities to the homeowners. We have designed essentially, there's 3 different house plans with multiple elevations. So this isn't a cookie cutter subdivision. We're trying to provide multiple elevations with different materials to give different looks. We're using stucco, we're using a board and bat, we're using shingle and lap siding, and mixing in ways that provides interest and variety. The street scene on the top is one of the internal streets. Find my cursor, thank you. You can see how the lots step down with the hill. You also notice that right off of Maciel, the homes closest to Maciel are about 4 feet below Maciel Avenue. We're really working to work with the site. So they'll be sitting below the street, which reduces their apparent height. The homes on the bottom is a streetscape. We call it a streetscape or a view of actually the homes that face Maciel. We worked really hard to make those homes look like they had front doors and porches and elements that face Maciel, even though the garage was off of a different street. So they're really oriented to look at and approach Maciel. I'll talk a little bit about landscaping. I did field some questions about that, but I'll touch on that towards the end. So the architecture is really meant to complement what we see in the neighborhood. It's supposed to be timeless. It's not supposed to be fashionable. We think these homes will look good in 20 years. They use classic materials and colors, muted earth tones, shingle siding, as I mentioned, composition roofs. And I think they'll be a very nice addition to the neighborhood. I'll discuss a little bit about the landscaping plan. There were specific questions, as I mentioned, I got from a couple of residents. Along Maciel, the trees here are coast live oaks that we'll be installing, native to the area, which is kind of the representation of a mature coast live oak tree here. Kind of this orangish red is a Chinese pistachio tree. And in fall, it turns a nice red color. Additionally, we have some accent trees in front of each house. And let me find my cheat sheet, I apologize. I had to talk to the landscape architect to make sure I have all this correct. The blue trees are jacarandas. and India hawthorns are the smaller trees next to them. So it gives a nice accent to each of the homes. Finally, as just an accent into the project itself, at each of the entries, there are some eastern redbuds. Hopefully, gives you an overview of kind of the type of trees that will be incorporated into the project. So we've worked really hard to try to create a project that isn't maximum density, it provides housing, fits into the neighborhood. This really is an opportunity. Housing is needed everywhere, but this is a really nice project to provide needed housing into the Santa Cruz area. I'd be happy to answer questions. I believe we're going to take questions first from the members that are here. And then for those of you who are online, as I mentioned, type it in the chat and we'll follow up. Yes, sir.
How are you going to address the natural spring across the street?
I've been asked to repeat the question for people online. So the question was, how do we address the natural spring across the street? I don't have an answer for you tonight. I will look into that, make sure I get your name and email address, and I'll get back to you on that.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
How far are you away from the riparian corridor? The houses, how far would they be from there?
You say the riparian corridor.
You know, where the two trees in the back, I assume those are on the riparian corridor, where the gulch comes through.
So lot 29 or 21, excuse me, is at a minimum of about 7.5 feet at the corner, and it works its way up to about 15 feet. And lot 1 is about 12 feet and up to about 20 feet. Does that answer your question? The homes in the middle are it's okay. The homes in the middle, just for reference, are about 40 feet off the property line. Yes, sir. Question was how much space between each house? We have 10-foot setbacks along the outer two edges of the property on the south and the north side, except for 3 individual setbacks, total 3 setbacks, which are 4. The homes on the interior of the property, between them is 4 feet. Excuse me, 4-foot setback, 8 feet between homes. Yeah. Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am.
The cars, does that include cars in their driveways?
Yeah.
Yes, okay, so there is going to be street parking because there's 21 houses, so.
So the question, sorry, go ahead and finish. The question was, how is the parking distributed, essentially? Out of the 83, again, every house has 2-car garage. Most homes have 2 cars in the driveway. Then there's 7 guest parking spaces along this area here that are not parked on an individual lot. So we call those guest parking spaces on-site guest parking spaces. And then, as I mentioned, there's an additional public parking of up to 10 spaces on Maciel. Did that answer your question?
Well, there's 21 houses times 2. What are you saying that's times 4?
Yep. In most instances, on the driveway. County allows you to park 2 in a row. Yes, ma'am. Yes.
If my car's been totaled more than that.
When you say safe, could you give me a little better? Is it the width or the?
Signal, Capitol Road is. All these cars are going to cause more traffic on Maciel. There's already a lot of traffic on Maciel. In the summertime, there's an app leads you right down Maciel. Big long line. You can't get home. You can't leave. Done a survey on that?
We have not done a survey on that. I think, we are in conversations with the county about traffic and we'll continue to talk with them. And if you express your concern, we'll try to follow up with you on that.
I'm very concerned.
So the traffic is not a small deal. That's a very big deal. And I know that it's not a primary concern for this county is the lack of affordable housing. I realize that. For the residents who live here, a major concern for us is traffic. It's our everyday life. It's not a small deal. I'm sorry I'm late. It took me 30 minutes to get to SoCal Village to pick up my daughter from preschool today. Drive, find traffic, 30 minutes. It's the SoCal Village. Go down Maciel and turn left. I have to go down Janet Capitol Road. Long story, but it's a very big deal. So that's something we have to consider with any of this development. It's something that we have to plan for ahead of big developments, in my opinion. With the infrastructure, build with the house. The lovely plan you have here. I think that you've done a very nice job. It's
Right, it is.
But I do appreciate, the design. I love the trees. I asked one of those questions about the trees. I have another question following up about other urban forest elements, but and I think that these are fitting for the neighborhood. We take a look at the fact that we're going to be in a gorgeous meadow, beautiful wildflowers, full of wildlife.
And where's the water coming from?
Dan, can you please summarize some of the comments about the traffic? The online audience couldn't quite hear it, and also any other questions that popped up.
First, before I forget, the last question was water availability. I'll try to answer that the best I can in a second. But before that, there's a general concern about traffic and the amount of traffic, especially on the ACL. Is that fair enough summary? And we will talk to the county. This is early in the review process. This is by no means, ready to be approved tomorrow. So we will work with the county and see what we can do to address some of the traffic concerns. Water. I think in the overall general plan, I could be wrong. But there is a future development plan based on the zoning, and so we will look into it. But I believe water service has been planned for a project like this on this site.
Because of so a combination between SoCal Water District. I believe that is in process.
Okay.
They can borrow water from each other.
I'll try to get better answers for that the next time we have a meeting. Yes, sir.
I just want to mention at the last meeting, the board president was here did mention that there'd be a thorough traffic study on Madison Lane and the Maciel. That before anything, it's anywhere, a thorough study on traffic before this even is planning stage. So I want to put that out there in case our supervisors listening to that was stated at the last meeting.
For those at home, the comment was previously there was a discussion, a traffic study would be done. And so we'll follow up with that. How about the first hand up was way back that I saw.
The prior meeting too, there was also a statement that there's a moratorium on sanitation. And that the current lines are over capacity. And that until the sanitation line from Madison Lane north of the freeway is increased, there are no hookups available in new housing. What's happening with that?
Hi, Mike, I'm your county supervisor, so I'm just in the back taking notes. I can comment on a couple of things. I'll start with your question about the sanitation district and then a little bit about traffic as well. So first off, the sanitation district is doing a few projects related to the Rodeo trunk line. We're lining the upper part of the line just so that it can send the cold water better. We're replacing the lower part of the line to just be a higher capacity pipe. And then we're putting in a new, what's called wet well, basically capacity down to the Rodeo pump station. We just have completed the environmental impact or part of that project, and we're gonna see what's right of way, keep it out the bid. Long story short, we assume that'll be done around end of 2024. So yeah, this project is still a few years out. So that's your question on
What was your last comment on? Sorry.
2024 timeframe that those, all three of those projects actually will be. And then this could move forward.
So 2024, so you're just starting on the sanitation project.
Right, we expect that the repairs to the line itself would happen this year. We're still in the design phase for the Rodeo pump station. In regards to your question about traffic, and yeah, I totally understand that we all spend too much time stuck in traffic. And we actually are making some really big changes to the infrastructure. First thing is, next month, we're going to be breaking ground on the bus on shoulder auxiliary lane project, which I would mark right here. And so hopefully that'll take a lot of the cut through traffic that you're seeing in this neighborhood and along Soquel Ave here as well, and get it back on the freeway where. And I'm sure some of you thinking, hey, well, that's what we were promised with the Morrissey project as well, and still happening. Well, we actually have money. First, we're going to break ground to 41st Avenue. Next year, 2023, we're going to break ground going to State Park Drive. The process of getting state and federal grants to get all the way to Freedom Boulevard, which comes within, we were having this 3 lanes again. So we'll basically get all the way through this bottleneck. We've already got $30 million from the federal government for that last phase in APCOS, and we feel our chances are pretty good to get the money to the final phase that gets APCOS to Freedom Boulevard. In addition to that, we also have a bunch of money to improve Soquel Drive. Some of us affectionately refer to as Highway 2. So we're putting in over 20 new automated signals. So the signals will actually talk to each other. You'll be able to get a wave of greens and keep going all the way through there. We're improving transit dramatically on that corridor. So we'll be both the buses will be able to talk to the lights, so they'll be able to do some few jumping. The light will stay green longer if there's a bus coming. We'll also be making dramatic improvements to all of the bus shelters along that line. So with automatic vehicle locator technology that tells you your bus is coming in the next 5 minutes. As well as we're pursuing some funding for in-lane boarding, so people can basically get on the bus faster and pay greater. So, and then the Metro is doing a study right now. We're still running buses all the way out Empire Grade or out Green Valley, and so we're going to look at opportunities to maybe reduce coverage a little bit, but increase frequency along some of these main worker lines right here. And then, finally, as far as trying to prevent cut-through traffic on Maciel and Madison, and of course, there is the Pfizer project, which we'll hear from that applicant developer here in the next month or so. And one thing we're looking at there is if they help fund speed bumps on Madison and Maciel, again, to discourage people from using it as cut-through.
What about a possibility of a light on Capitola Road in UCL?
We are doing a plan line study for Capitola Road this year, so we can look at that.
We've tried to get permission to put speed bumps on Maciel, but the fire department won't have it. It's just too difficult, makes their life too hard.
There's speed bumps on Madison.
They made that very clear.
We have enough signatures.
Right. Okay. Well, I don't think that's gonna, and it's not gonna deter the people that are calling. Doesn't matter then.
Well, not happy to talk to Chief Minnie about it again, at Central Fire.
Yeah.
But I think you might also have, putting a light at Capitol Road should also have the same impact of encouraging people to take the road. Long story short, I agree. I'll go back and talk to our public works director about thorough traffic impact study for this project.
Well, a lot of that traffic is Gross Road, because you go up there, and it's so stopped up that they come down Maciel. But then you've got 25 cars waiting to go through a stop sign with people whizzing by, they want Capitol Road. It's like dangerous. I'm surprised there aren't more accidents. It's just not a safe intersection at all.
Yeah, totally agree again. And then we'll also hear the other piece of this with the Kaiser project, that applicant meeting probably early February. And so we'll get with their proposed traffic improvements. And again, of course, the major project to try to get people off of SoCal Avenue even will be this highway project.
Are any of these homes low income?
Yeah, it's pretty right.
3 of the homes will be below market rate.
Zoom in.
You've been doing great. You can say.
Questions that are really.
I'm going to work my way up here. I saw, but the gentleman in the back.
You said that the Maciel Avenue is going to be widened. So does that mean there's going to be sidewalks on both sides of Maciel?
The question was, what are the improvements that are part of our project on Maciel? We are improving one side. That's what we're required to do. So we'll be increasing the width of the street, provide the appropriate drive aisle, a parallel parking spot, a curb, and a sidewalk. Gentleman in the back, please.
First off, I really like your design and your project. It's a lot nicer than the last one with Mr. Leopold. We went through this, if you're a developer, this is a lot better of a design. I live midway on Maciel, closer to Capitol Road. And I echo what everybody says about it. This is a picture that I've sent to Mr. Connick's office a number of times about the traffic that cuts through Maciel and blocks so we can get the road. It chokes down Capitol Road so that we try and turn left. There was a child killed there some years back, and this was discussed with Mr. Leopold, the individual that had signatures trying to get a light in Maciel Capitol because of that child's death. So it's a safety issue on the street. And so when Mr. Connick goes to Public Works and he's going to talk about the traffic study, you need to take a real hard look at safety factors of the street. It's dangerous. You have no speed bumps, cut throughs race through. You have children that play on the street. Instead of where it's doors down, and you have small children. Those kids get in the street, they're not. So it's very dangerous. Your traffic study and encouraging the speed bumps will certainly mitigate some of that. Reducing what you're calling 80 or 94 cars back onto our street that have to enter this parade of parking that occurs because of the traffic controls. The current state is a problem. Safety issue. And it's going to drive lawsuits and problems. More people get hurt on the street. It's smart to go down to Public Works, have that conversation, get with the fire chief, as Ray had mentioned over here, about being able to insert the speed bumps, not impact the fire response vehicles that are saying they can't get over the speed. It's kind of a cheap argument that it can be had. For whatever the reason, you can talk to public works and have a conversation and see if you can get the speed bumps. That'll help mitigate it. You need to do an engineered traffic study in the street. Take a real hard look at it, public works as you go forward. I think that'll make the residents of the area a lot appealing.
For those at home, there's just a very thoughtful and eloquent comment, primarily still about traffic and safety along Maciel, and to make sure that as this, not just this project, but in general, that for this project, the traffic study is done, but in general, we work and other people work with the county to look at improvements along Maciel. Gentlemen,
Dan?
yes.
Dan,
Oh,
after this question, I'd like to get some questions from online, but go ahead and finish with this
Okay.
one.
yeah, please start over.
Would the expansion of scale only be in front of your development, or would it extend all the way down to?
The question was what are we improving along Maciel? We are improving in front of our development. That's what's required. by the county.
Yeah, so I think that's what Grace, the crew traffic there is awful. We had one of the blind corner on we had one of our neighbors who was injured the Thanksgiving weekend by hit and run delivered, cutting the corner. We frequently see people below the stop sign at Grace County Basin. So fully supportive traffic study and our supervisors hearing them. Eliminating the concerns around that blind corner, the other concerns around the Capitola, possibly a roundabout in there, but also slow down traffic. Is a major concern for how many units there. And then understand we put a lot of thought into curfew. But unfortunately, we've seen the townhouses and the mobile home park have a lot of overflow. So continuing to address, maybe further improvements on Maciel all the way down to allow for more parking. It's just that those other communities that were planned didn't allow for enough parking. So we already have.
Thank you. I've been asked, please hold your questions. Don't forget them. We want to take some questions from people online.
Okay, so the first question is from Jeffrey. He says, will Maciel Ave be widened as it is currently quite narrow with people walking with dogs, strollers, or by themselves? I do believe you answered that already. It will be widened, is that correct?
Yes, we've discussed the Maciel.
All the way to
So the question is how much of Maciel will be improved with our project. We're required to improve the project in front of our property. That's what we are planning to do currently.
Okay, then,
Some more questions.
and then his second part of that question is, because of the great increase in Maciel traffic, will there be a stoplight at Maciel and Capitola? And I believe Supervisor Koenig answered that. There isn't one planned, correct?
There's not a stoplight planned at Capitola Road in Maciel, but we are looking at all of Capitola Road this year, including the option of roundabouts, I think someone mentioned, versus stoplights, and the ultimate plan for that road. So that'll be certainly be something that will be completed before this project is considered.
Okay. All right, and then I'm going to go to Marcus's questions. His first question is, given the neighborhood zoning is R16, how large will the lots be? That's question one from Marcus. If you can answer that, go ahead.
Our lots are under the zoning. We are R14 and R15 zoning based on lot size because we're in the SUD zoning district. So our lots are typically, the average is 40 foot wide and 80 foot deep. So that's 3,600 square feet. Some are larger, the end units, ones along Maciel, but the interior lots are typically 40 by 80.
Okay, next question from Marcus. How can the space between two occupied houses be 8 feet? The code is a 10-foot minimum. How is this being allowed?
We're working with planning on this. We are meeting our 5-foot setbacks on the exterior of the project. And we are allowed 4-foot setbacks on the interior of the project. Additionally, just in terms of the way the homes are designed, we pay attention to that. We don't have any large windows facing sideways. It's called, looking to do some privacy windows. If we want as much light and as possible. So we do high windows, but not things that you can typically look out and look right at the house next door. So that's part of our thoughtful design process on homes like this.
Okay. Marcus would also like to know what environmental impact review is being done, and if not, why not?
I don't have an answer to that right now. I can check with our planner and get an answer.
Okay. Follow-up question from Marcus about the permitted area. Under whose authority is it permitted at a 4-foot setback?
It's the zoning code. We are working with planning to meet the zoning requirements.
Okay, we have more questions, but let's stop there and go back to the in-person audience.
Okay. There's been some hands over here. So second row, please. Yes.
We live at 1929 Maciel, and it's just pretty where your property is gonna be. Yeah, just right there, yes. And that is a one-lane road. Basically, it's so narrow there. And people come roaring up there at 50, 60 miles an hour. You know, blowing tires, whatever. So you're telling us that where we are is not gonna be widened. It's so that I can barely get out of my driveway some days. Because of the road. And it's so narrow, there's nowhere for me to go. I have to stop and wait. And this is as a byway. Got pretty cars going down the road, it's ridiculous. So I'm asking, you're not widening the road between Capitol Road and Madison? You're just widening it just in front of your property.
That is correct. That's what we're required to do. Yes.
That's something.
Yes, ma'am.
I used to play on Maciel when I was a kid, and to me, this area is the country. Yeah. My grandfather used to close farmers' plots. And so when this came out, I thought, oh, it'd be fun to live there. I'm not sure right now, but I live over in Santa Cruz Gardens, and I know we're looking at what they call thank you ma'ams down in Thurber. I was hit on Thurber, so people go 40, 50, 60 on Thurber. So I know what you mean when you say to go fast. They do change my life. But my question is to the project is what's pricing?
We're so early in the stage. Honestly, we don't know the pricing yet. We don't have an idea. We are very early in the planning and development stage. It might be a couple of years off from, breaking ground. So yeah, we can't tell right now. Sorry for the audience. There's some general questions about traffic along Maciel and whether we knew what the price of the homes were going to be. At this point in time, we do not know the price of the homes.
Thank you.
I don't want to be, okay, one more on this side. I'm going to come back over here, please.
To find out, per comment, where we should go ahead and have this required.
I think incrementally, the county looks at projects that are being developed to help improve the infrastructure. And that's what this project is doing. We're improving our portion of the infrastructure in front of our project. That's how I understand it currently.
I want to add to that. So we spoke to them, and what they're speaking to, there was a new residence recently added in the property that did expand the roadway. And they expanded the sidewalks, the portion of that development. And so if there's a piece left, it's going to be very small. That would be left. It doesn't make to me a lot of sense that you wouldn't complete civil work. Connect, it's very little. Yeah, it can't be much more than 25, 30 feet between the new development and the
Comment well taken. I think I need to come. Sorry, again, the comment for the audience at home is we're still discussing the improvements along Maciel and where they might start and stop. Yes, ma'am.
How much?
The typical lot is 40 by 80, which is 3,600 square feet. Some are 32, excuse me. And some are larger along Maciel, along the back corners. And there's a couple that are just a little bit smaller.
And how big is the whole?
It's about 2 acres, plus or minus.
How big are you past? That's the other. Or was it the whole?
There's a question about the size of the lots and the size of the homes. The homes range from about 1,700 square feet to about 2,300 square feet. Yes, ma'am.
Are these individual?
The question is, how is the individual homes mapped or entitled? And they will be single-family lots with single-family homes. Yes, sir.
So 2 questions. Will the property have an HOA or will it be only?
I believe there'll be an HOA because we have a private drive. The loop road is a private drive and there'll be a separate parcel and maintained via an HOA.
Okay, as well. Second question is. The ecology study, you know, these associates have been out there with the groundwater. Oh, it is. Some of it, I believe, even goes underneath Maciel because I was out there and couple holes were moving. And of course, that is all that water goes right through our property. There is a considerable water that's not generated by the property. That's the city property. So I really suggest good hydrology study there because you have your home step down, some of the guys in the 4 steps would be these.
Isn't it designated flood zone? The lower part?
I don't think so, no.
Street from property and at the bottom of the hill. Culvert, it comes from privately owned culvert, and I'm responsible for it. And yet all that water comes from Madison, Halterman, Roanoke. I can't get any public works help. They're helping with it, but it's like a freaking waterfall. And that water's got to, now it's coming straight from Madison. It's not even coming out of the culvert underneath my neighbor's driveway. It's coming over the street. And I just don't see how. If you're gonna put homes on that side, they're gonna be underwater.
Again, the question or the comments, there were a couple of them. One was recommending a hydrology study and the other was just a concern about water in general. I don't know whether the county is going to require a hydrology study. We'll look into that, but it's a good comment. And you know, there are very strict requirements today on development with treating water on your site. And the civil engineer was not able to make it tonight, but we'll make sure our design conforms to any and all new tech.
French drains and all that?
We'll do what is required at the very minimum, probably maybe above and beyond, I'm not sure, to make sure that we treat all the water on site and it's released based on current codes. That's what I could tell you today.
Yeah. Treating the water on site, somewhere along the line, maybe the county or maybe the developer has to understand that all the water they receive. Not from the site. And a lot of it is not obvious, it's running off of a lot of it, plain nested. Considerable.
I mean, Madison gets flooded and it has to go somewhere around at the bottom of the hill.
I think you're comment on there. I've seen some of those pictures, of the water, yeah, focus on culture.
Yes.
So that's something else we have discussed with our flood. I think we're gonna have to have services to afford to not be a water. Makes sense. Yeah.
Just so it also considers water that comes off the site.
There's a creek
Dan, can you paraphrase that? It's hard to hear.
gonna go up and over.
I cannot check whether or not that this area is in flood zone. I would, off the top of my head.
So, again, for the audience at home, there's been some very big comments and concerns about water both on our site and water around our site that flows through our site. And those are issues we're going to need to look into as the project moves forward. Yes, sir.
This is a question brought up. traffic light on. I understand. Extremely expensive. Trinity. That's. It was, the current, what is. With the developer. Interested in. Really slim that we're gonna.
So it's true that we could create conditions for development permit. Be a nexus of proportionality. More than it's going to show the impact is actually going to be. So that's one piece we have to see, does this particular project justify the addition of this traffic light? You're right, they're expensive, they're like $1 million. It's crazy, we're asking guys to pay for, in that at least two, south of their Gulch as well as in front of the project, so.
It's not in one. Two or as many as maybe four, depending on how many cars. Are driving them.
Yeah, so what's the ideal thing to do there, right? Is it a light? Is it a four-way stop? I don't know, but that's what we will look at forecasting this year, so at least that will identify the ideal transportation improvement at that intersection. And then we can look at how it's going to develop the pace.
And what junction would you study and the play on this project?
Certainly before it gets further down the line and is considered by the planning or the board of supervisors. Go back and discuss where. We could expect that.
So when you do go back and find out about the traffic. Hazard permanent coming in, that again is going to increase the traffic around this area. Go ahead and easily get onto Madison. So that's quite a bit more traffic. I'd like to see that.
Yeah, and the impact for Kaiser is going to come out here probably in the next couple of weeks.
And also, I just want to add that there's another huge development slated from back in here, right?
Right, there's some homes proposed.
Yeah, so we have the townhomes, we have these 20.
So,
Right back to the spot.
and for those listening, there's just been additional concerns and comments and discussion about traffic and possible improvements to signals and things at Capitola. And
We do have another question online, if we can go back to online questions when you're ready.
we're going to take an online question, please.
Okay, so this is from Charles. He says, how about putting public parking inside the 1960 parcel? Moving 4 houses 8 feet closer to the street. And the bike path would be nicer. We don't need another 30th Avenue type parking lot. So is it possible to put public parking inside of inside of this parcel?
I'm not sure exactly what he's asking for, but maybe he can follow it up. We'll take his comments and digest them and look at it. We do have 7 guest parking spaces along the eastern edge of the property, and then 10 additional parking spaces potential along Maciel. Other than that, the parking is handled on site on each individual homeowner site of 3 or 4 spaces per lot.
Okay. All right. We did have another question. Let me scroll down to it. Okay, sorry. So this is from Gloria. She's having some computer trouble at her house. So her friend is sending in the questions. Is there an issue with a known floodplain? That's question one. Question two is, are builders aware that there was a major rat release when townhomes were built down the road? Has pest wildlife been assessed?
I don't believe we're that far in the project that we've analyzed that. That'll be something we'll work with the county on to look at what's needed to analyze rodent and pest control during construction. The first part of the question was,
Is there an issue with a known floodplain?
I don't know the answer to that. I can get back to you on that. I don't believe there is, but I'll have to double check and confirm.
Okay, and then Dan, can I put your email in the chat for some of these people?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, I'm not sure if I have it, but I'm gonna see if I do. We're done with online questions.
Back to, yes, ma'am.
Having a strip. But they come up the street, come along the street, down the street, we all already have a problem. Mobile home park. Park down. Wow, it's there. Back every. So have you thought about taking out houses? Or parking so that it's not an issue? You know, format.
We'll consider it. We haven't, we think we're overparked right now based on county standards. Doesn't mean that we're addressing every condition where people might have a party, but we believe we're well parked for typical day-to-day use for these residents.
How many parking are on the, where you going to?
There's about 10 new spots that will be added along Maciel. Correct.
Yeah, they're fine. Right, not everybody. That's all, but that's.
Yeah.
An ER has not been done yet. Yes, sir.
Developer is required to leave the road where.
In front of our property, on our site,
On the property.
on our site.
Not do around the corner.
Right now, we're proposing in front of our property, from property line to property line. Again, the question was how much of Maciel is being improved by this project? And we are improving in front of our parcel.
How many?
Can you do a follow-up? Sorry.
Because I'm clearly reading off the wall. The building required.
Apologize, I'm not familiar with that. This is what we're being requested right now by the county to improve. There was a question. Did I miss it? Yes, sir.
Going back to parking on the street, one of the things from Manu is the final manner mobile home park under their conditional permit, which is basically the Rodeo Gulch Mobile Home Association owns that park. In addition to their permit to have that park, if they don't have any overflow parking, trailer park onto the street, that drives a lot of problems. I think some enforcement back upon the ownership of that park to keep the park in the boundary to help mitigate some of the. But certainly.
Yeah, I'll certainly be attached to the person source and opportunity to change that would reduce the impact of that part of the entirety of the.
Is there bylaws? And I know the homeowners association, but is there bylaws that says that you can't, they're not, no birthday parties for the.
We're not that far in the project yet, but developing, I think you're talking about CCNRs.
Yeah.
We're not that far, but we'll take, your comments into consideration to see if there's something that can be done. So let me summarize, there's still been some additional conversation about maybe controlling or traffic outside of our particular project that's overflow in Maciel. And then what CC&Rs could do to help mitigate some additional traffic concerns within our project. Yes, ma'am.
Is the problem on SEL time of day car? And could it be that at a certain time of day, you cannot go all the way through from one end to the other? Then it's,
I think a traffic study would start to give us
yeah.
some analytics to that question. And then there might be
There's a road down in Capitola that there's a certain time of day after 2 o'clock in the afternoon, you cannot turn right on that road. That seemed like an inexpensive way of handling.
good comment. Yes, ma'am.
A comment and a question and some comments, our supervisor here, one more vote for speed bumps on Maciel, please. It's absolutely terrifying how fast those cars go down a street with a 3-year-old daughter. It's very scary when we're outside and particularly in audiences honking at me when I'm going the speed limit. Because the expectation is that we should just be able to fly down the street. There's just no barriers to get people to slow down. It's a long stretch. So the question, just want to understand this back access way from the property. I don't know if I missed it, but where is that going?
Are you talking about this connection?
Yeah, that's right there.
This would be a pedestrian and possible EVA. It connects to a stub street that's planned on the project behind us.
Let's look at how the property will have a substreet and they'll connect it to that.
That's the intent. Yes, we would coordinate that with their project.
I see. Yeah, and so with that, process supervisor knows, would that connect back to the proposed pedestrian bridge then? Over the.
Ultimately, right, so on the Locatelli property, they're considered deeding over to the county of Riviera parcel that basically is right at that Madison elbow, right? And we could proceed to take Madison straight towards Riviera Creek. That's what the Locatelli project is proposing, give it to county for the public grants. And that's where we would look at also building a pedestrian bridge to connect possibly.
Would be fabulous. That would really increase pedestrian access.
Your second. So, yes, sir.
Widening the road along your property. Putting sidewalks and widening. Your property. Does that include eliminating?
The existing house
Yes.
on the property. The existing house will be replaced with these 21 lots and new homes. So the question was, what happens to the existing house on the property? Yes, ma'am.
We did get all the signatures needed for speed bumps on Maciel years ago. But the county said before they would put them in, we had to get permission from the fire department. And the fire department said, no, that's why they're not there. But we wanted them for years.
Well, I think is
Yes, I've been definitely going to talk to Chief Lee of the Central Fire District.
We can't get it if they say no.
I mean, I'm clearly between this project as well as Kaiser. I mean, it seems like it's larger and there's artists in the community. I mean, maybe just keep up this time that, you know, has the gaps that just for fire.
yes, ma'am.
Facility in between your project and everything. And fire needs to get to those people if they have a problem. So that's another reason to have this. We have FedEx, we have UPS, we have everybody running up and down the street, we have people in trailers, wherever they leave their cars on Maciel for days, weeks, get their red tag, and they're all the way. Am I correct? You've not done an environmental impact report on it?
This is very early in the planning stages. So it's not been completed yet. No. We're just in front of you to get some feedback as we move forward. There's been no formal submittal to the county.
It was my understanding that's a coyote habitat behind you. It's a flood zone behind you. There's a lot of things going on. That should have been done first.
Point taken. Good comment.
And the house, it's hard to live.
Are there additional comments either online or this evening that I can try to answer? As I don't have all the answers, as you've noticed, but I will follow up and try to respond to those that still need some clarification.
There's a couple more online.
Okay.
Okay. Vicky wrote in and she says, there is concern with the 10 spaces being on Maciel instead of within the development. There's a shortage of parking in the neighborhood, and folks from up on Madison near the mobile home park already take up spots on Madison near Maciel. It seems like there should be additional spots in the development for visitors. And then she asks, will there be stop signs at the new streets that will intersect Maciel?
So there will not be stop signs where we enter Maciel, I don't believe. We'll see what comes out of the planning process. In and out of our project, I don't believe there'll be a stop sign. In regards, there's been a lot of discussion about the widening. We're following county standards, so that's what we're doing. And that includes parallel parking and a curb and gutter and a sidewalk. So we don't have a choice there about what we can do. So we're following county standards for the improvements along Maciel. Let me. Under the SUD zoning code, you're allowed to do both R14 and R15. And it's based on the size of your lot. Anything over 4,000 square feet falls under the R15. Anything under 4,000 square feet falls under the R14 zoning.
It's only 32,000. 32 square feet. 3,200. That's still smaller than 4.
That's anything under 4,000 falls under the R14 zone. It's a challenge to build housing. It is. Yes, sir.
I really like Vicky's comments about the power of stop signs. No stop sign right now at Maciel and Seamus. So if people were forced to stop right in that area, it might stop them from finding the hill from John Bordy's house, and then likewise, there's a stop sign maybe at the upper entryway to the new developments on Maciel that might stop people from bobbing down in the other direction, just a thought, as a potential additive to the speed bumps.
I agree too. I'll definitely go back to the public works and kind of looking at the line aesthetics for the street and the homes and stations and Maciel and maybe it's not just.
There's some, again, additional comments and questions about essentially controlling traffic on Maciel and the use of stop signs. It will be looked into. Any other questions online, Christina?
No, not at the moment.
I do have one more thing.
Yes, ma'am.
The landscape architect who
Yes, ma'am.
because he just decide what to put in front of houses.
I don't want to speak for him, but he's done work in this area before. Yes. Is your comment that you don't feel it's appropriate? I mean, can you provide me some feedback to talk to him about, or?
The bar area don't do well.
Okay.
They do well in heat, but they don't do well in my microclimate.
Okay.
I'm just wondering why you couldn't Jack Lamb's
I'll have a conversation with him. Yes, ma'am.
Plan to have another meeting, once everything is all kind of, put, to bring picture of them.
From here, I believe we need to assess the comments you guys have given us. Thank you. And decide if what we can or how we can make any improvements to our project. And then we will be proceeding with a formal submittal to the county. I'll have to follow up. I'm not real clear tonight after we submit on when additional public hearings might happen. We can provide that information.
Dan, we do have a couple more questions that came in.
Yes.
Marcus, he says that he didn't quite hear the point when you said how a 3,200 square foot lot meets R14 zoning when a minimum lot size is 4,000 square feet.
The R14 zoning for lots up to 4,000 square feet.
Up
So
to, okay,
once you go over 4,000, you're in the R15 zoning. That's up to 5,000. After 5,000, you're in the R16 zoning.
got it. Okay, and then one more question here from Charles. What happened to the community garden from the first plan?
I'll look into it. I was not the architect on the first design, so I don't have an answer for that. But let me see what I can find out and take that as a, I assume that's a comment to consider. So we'll take that into consideration.
Okay. And I've given everyone in the chat your email, so they can also follow up with a question with you directly on email.
Yes, feel free, anyone online. I'll be, give me a bit of time to get back to you, but we will
Yeah.
try to do a thorough response to anyone who emails me.
Maybe this question really is for Manu, but what is the status of this Locatelli property that is referred to? I've never gone to a meeting or really know what's going on there.
They also, I think they went through a design review group, which is like the initial stage. And their application, initial application is under review. I think they're looking at particularly some of the drainage issues and how it's supposed to deal with that. So again, that's why it's still quite early in the process. I want to say it's 18 minutes. They're proposing.
Okay. At one time I had heard something like 40. Maybe that was, maybe I misunderstood.
Are those standalone homes or townhouses or?
So there's a general question about the project to the east of us and its process and where it's at in the process, and still very early on. That's why there haven't been any public hearings to date.
So at our next, families, hopefully expect.
I don't have an answer. I will look into it. Your comments well taken. It'll be part of the process that we go through. So there are sign-up sheets, and if you please leave it. There weren't enough pens. Please share. If you leave your name and email and questions, I will try to get back to everyone in an appropriate amount of time. And I'm happy to speak a little more informally if anyone wants to come up after the meeting adjourns and speak to you individually. Yes, sir.
Is there any way of bidding to create a radius of project, to make it new projects or it's where it ends up, no matter what. And you know, that would maybe build this project with some relief, especially on the lower part, that lower right hand.
I'll discuss that with the flood control districts, and there's a lot of projects. So basically, considering like individual sort of detention basins for each unit, or one larger point to basically get this one to be on. The other thing that project is looking at is, and they are required, since we don't talk about the repair and setback, They were required to be 50-foot setbacks in the roof line of the oak, so pretty significant space. To create and that's the one home project. And so looking at potentially where you footpath there, so which is that connected up to the bridge that would create public amenity that would help tie all this into the community. So those are things we're looking at as well as the drainage project as well.
Well, it is a little after 7, so thank you all, as I mentioned, for coming out tonight. I am again here to talk to you individually. Appreciate it. And we will try to get back to you all as soon as possible. So thank you.
Are you ending the meeting? Okay.